Never try to be better than someone else. Always learn from others. And never cease trying to be the best you could be. That's under your control.
Anybody can be a coach, and a good coach can coach anything.
This kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew.
The mindset of a coach can belong to anyone.
And when you get to the point where all you want to do is be successful, as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. Pain is temporary.
They ask me why I teach, and I reply, where could I find such splendid company?
Hey guys, welcome to the 6th episode of the Coaching Mindset Podcast. I'm Liam O'Neill, the Prove It guy.
And I'm Gary Wallace from Core and I. And today we are going to discuss Liam's talk that he did on anxiety and pain and just dealing with a lot of stuff. So yeah, Liam, over to you, my friend.
We did the talk on the 28th. It's my free talk I like to give something back to Omagh. So one of the things that I would always say is a lot of people complain that there's nothing to do in our town. But I think that a lot of people learn new skills and new techniques and become useful at whatever it is they're trying to do. Then they end up leaving and taking that skill away. So that's why I came back to him, and that's why I try to give back to him as well. So the talk was on anxiety, pain, panic and phobias. It sounds like a lot, but the techniques are the same. But it reaches a lot of different people. Like, people might think, I don't have anxiety, I have panic. Or I don't have panic, I have anxiety. Or pain, I just added in pain because there's a lot of people I work with that have some sort of pain. So I think the talk went well. It was the first time that I tried to humanize myself by explaining to people that I have went through panic myself. I went through panic with eating, which stemmed from, I didn't know what it was from, but just in a conversation with my mum, I ended up realising that it was from when I needed to get my tonsils out and my throat was bad and everything I ate I felt was trying to kill me. So then that was just triggered at a stressful time in my life. Again, so I've went through stress. A lot of people think I just never have went through stress, but I just have a lot of good coping mechanisms. We talked before, like I meditate a lot. So that's why I'm good in stressful situations, because I practice. So I talked about that in the talk. I went over a few different techniques. One from Anthony and Freddie Jacquin, which is called the arrow. So I think anyone that's into any help, and even as a personal trainer, it's a good technique to have so that you can refocus people. It's good for people in injury and pain recovery. So if you don't know it, learn it. It's very basic, but you just went through it. It's not a hard thing to walk people through. Like, what was your experience of going through the arrow technique?
Yeah, the arrow technique was very good. It was like, I suppose, getting the best version of yourself, really. But whenever you say that to people and go, you can be the best version of yourself, that's saying is one thing, but visualizing it and actually going through with it is another. So the arrow idea was very good. The other concept I liked was you talked about the breathing. And I think it plays a massive part on everyday life. Well, first of all, we all need to breathe, but
it is key.
We need to breathe right.
Knowing how to breathe, I think, was my point. Just on when you're on about the better version of yourself, I always add in the statement, at this moment. Because if you're trying to get yourself to a 10 and you're only at a 1, the better version you can create in that mindset might only be a 4. So at that moment, that's as good as you can get. But at the 4, you might be able to get better. So if you only think about creating the best version of yourself and you can only get to a 4, then you might stop and think that this is the best version I can possibly get. The breathing, I talk about breathing a lot in my training and teaching the Tai Chi. And even whenever you're doing massage, you would tell people to breathe in and relax. So breathing relaxes the body. But a lot of people that have pain or panic or anxiety or phobias, they're not breathing correctly. They're shallow breathing or panic breathing. So if you practice breathing techniques so that you can breathe in control whenever you want, then whenever you do have a situation where you're starting to panic, you'll notice, right, my body feels weird, what's going on? You go, oh, you're not breathing. Like I do a lot of martial arts. I've never rear naked choked anyone and then sitting in the rear naked choke thinking, God, something's not right. They know right, my air's cut off here, so I need to do so. Usually it's tap, but they need to do something. But in everyday life, people don't realize that. They don't realize that they've changed the way they're breathing. They're not breathing deeply, or they're breathing too deep, or they're breathing shallow. So it really depends. Like whenever I talked about it in the talk, when people start to breathe heavily, they bring in a lot more oxygen, which is a defense mechanism for the body to prepare to fight or flight. But it makes you lightheaded a wee bit when you have all that oxygen, whenever you breathe deeply. That's not your normal feeling. So then people, like you get it as a trainer, people go, oh no, I feel lightheaded. And you're like, that's good, you're oxygenating the body, you're exercising, you should feel something, but they think it's bad.
You went through your different, so people can actually try it, even when they're listening now as well, but you talked about your counts too, your numbers of breathing in.
3-5-7 is the breathing I use. In my book, I talk about 3-5-7 breathing, and one of the questions comes up a lot is, why those numbers? The numbers aren't important, the numbers are just something for you to aim for. You can do completely different numbers. I don't really care, as long as you have chose the numbers, so you're not just trying to breathe in. I'm thinking, right, that was 4. Now I'll try to breathe out, and you breathe out faster or whatever. So you choose what you're going to do. So if you wanted to try it, you can try it now whilst you're listening to this. You breathe in for 3 seconds. Breathe in for 3. However fast you counted to 3, that's how fast you'll count to 5, and you hold your breath. And then you try to breathe out for 7. And then you just repeat. If you get to the point where you notice you're lightheaded or you're not breathing properly, then just stop and go back to...
And why the low number when you're breathing in and the high number when you're breathing out, or what's the rationale behind that?
What you're trying to do is breathe in, so it'll force you to take a better in-breath. Initially, you will start like this. And then you'll get to 7, like you're breathing out for 7, and you'll make this noise. If you can hear that, it's like where you're starting to run out of air. So your 3 in then will become more, you'll take more breath as you do it. So you've more breathing out. Whenever you breathe, your body holds on to some of the oxygen, some of the air, and then turns it to carbon dioxide. So there's still stale air in there. So when you breathe out longer than you breathe in for, you'll get rid of more of that stale air, and you'll take on more oxygen, which in return will surround your organs with more oxygenated air rather than stale air. So that's the reason why I do it. There could be other scientific reasons that are beneficial as well, but to me the science isn't as important as how you personally feel when you do it.
Yeah.
But when we go back to panic or fear or pain, you having breath control, like look at someone giving birth. They don't go to them and be like, I'll just do normal breathing. There's actual classes on how to breathe so you can get through that pain. So I think it's important that everyone should, well, you need to breathe, like, but...
Yeah, I'm always back to that, and I think from all your techniques and the talk and all, it always came back to that you have to practice it.
Yeah.
So you recommend even practice it every day? And
yeah.
Another question I was going to say too, would you think about make it into a routine or a habit and have a specific time in the day that you would do it? Not to get too caught up that if you don't make it, but just to have some sort of routine to go, right, well, in the morning I know I have 5 minutes now to practice my breathing, or, know that moment whenever I come in, open the door and I set my car keys down, I'm going to go sit straight on a chair and I'm going to take these 5 minutes to myself. Would you recommend that, or do you just say, right, just get it done anytime during the day?
I sort of throw as much mud as possible and hope some of it sticks.
Yeah.
So the 3 times I would advise most are when you wake up, when you're lying in bed, instead of hitting the snooze button, do your breathing, relax, get your body prepared for the day. Whilst you're doing your breathing, you can think about what you're going to achieve that day or what you just have to get through that day or whatever. The second time is at night. So it's not like exercise. If I said to you, I want you to do 30 squats a day, and you get into bed and you think, oh, I didn't do my 30 squats, I wouldn't say to you, just get out of bed and do them. You could, it would be easy to do, just get out and do your 30 squats. If you're with a partner, they would get used to it. They'll get used to it eventually. But if you go to bed and you're lying in your bed and you think, oh, I didn't do my breathing today, you can still do that then. For visualization, you can tell yourself, right, I'm going to do this breathing, I'm going to oxygenate my body, which relaxes my organs, and I'm going to have a much better night's sleep off of the back of that. The third time is in any time in the middle of the day, but usually, because I work with a lot of corporate people, I would say to them, do it in your car or in your office just before you go home. So if you drive home from a stressful day at work, if you bring that into your house, and you've just been dealing with negativity at work, your spouse or your children, when you see them, you'll link that to them. They're the first people you see when you come in, and you're still stressed about something, and then you link that. Eventually, you'll start to. They will trigger it without you like you might be sitting Sunday and you come home and it's just a normal Sunday and there's no stress, but you see your spouse or your partner or your child or whatever, and it just triggers that feeling of annoyance because you've linked them to how you usually feel whenever you come home from work. So to get over that, you do it in your car before you go into the house. Just take 5 minutes, just sit in the car, do your breathing, or come into your house and go straight to a bedroom or straight to your office, your home office, and do it. And that switches you off. And again, you add visualization. You tell yourself what you're going to do is switch yourself off for this. This is what this breathing is about. So then you can go in and be the family man, whatever. A lot of people take their work home. That's a good way of switching yourself from work person to home life person.
Yeah. And again, it relates to everybody, you know, again, even take it back to coaching or personal training, or, you know, I've been out some nights where I've been coaching and I've just been either really frustrated or, you know, either going into the session or during the session making me frustrated. But again, it comes back to that mindset where, you know, you do need to take those 5 minutes, and you know what? It might not work the first time. You might have to, same as everything else, you have to practice. So it nearly becomes like second nature. Did you know, right, well, I've had a horrible day at work, or I just had the worst client in there and they brought all their negativity on top of me. And now I'm going to have to take somebody else. So what do I do?
Sometimes you feel that's why clients are coming to you, just
yeah, you
just
know,
offload all
and to be honest, but when they do that, I feel my duty is, first of all, duty is to care.
Yeah.
I do care for them, but it's to change that mindset. And I'm not talking around that they come out there bouncing.
Yeah.
But even teaching, like I started doing breathing techniques at the end of my class, and the look on people's faces after, it's like, it's not them, they're jumping up with joy. It's like the kind of satisfaction of the sense of relaxation, and yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
You know, and by simply taking the time to work and concentrate on your breathing, because a good thing I always think you always said too, that if you always relate back to the breath, no matter what's going through your head, if you can think 3, 5, 7, and that's all you're thinking about, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7. So then the dickhead boss that's coming into your head now has gone out because all you're doing is 3, 5, 7.
Yeah.
3, 5, 7, and then you can start thinking, well, I'm going back to my family. Right? What are the positives of that? You know, my kid's going to run up, rather than going to hug me and me throwing them away because I'm in a bad mood. I can embrace that hug. You know, I can go and see my spouse. I know I'm going home to a nice warm house. You know, I've got shelter. You know, you can start to appreciate and be grateful simply by taking the time and breathing. Yeah. It's quite simple, like, really. You know?
Even if you're going home and you don't have a spouse or children or a warm house, or you're going home to a shithole that just you hate, you're still away from whatever was causing you that stress. So then you can deal with the new stress that you have, where like a lot of people look at it, and we look at it like just it's magic. You go home from work and work is the only thing stressing you, and you go home to your family and it's all bliss and amazing. But some family lives aren't easy. And they're stressful. But if you take the work stress on top of the family stress, then it just keeps, eventually you're the thing that's gonna break. So even if you don't have that, you can get rid of the stress from one environment. So even if work is your safe zone and home is not as well as you would like it to be, you can still use the technique in reverse. So whenever you leave the house, before you get into work, just leave a wee bit earlier, do your breathing so you don't take that stress to work. Like if you're, I know I did, I worked in a few places I didn't want to be there, but for my end goal I had to be there. So my family life was fine, and I would go there and it would be terrible, or I was in relationships that weren't going very well, and work was, I loved being at work because I was away from that environment, and it was an environment I felt I couldn't get out of. So on the way home I would do my breathing and my de-stressing, so like this was going to get me prepared for the stress that I was about to walk into. So you can use it in reverse, or and in between. Like I use it in between clients. Like if I have, for example, a sports client who's very excited, and we go through a whole session and we're like American, we're all like jumping about and everything's amazing. Pumping. Yeah. And then my next client's coming in and they've got like stress or anxiety or depression. I can't like go into that client in the same mind frame, the same like excited, over the top, Americanized win attitude. I have to lower myself, so the breathing helps me switch off and come back down, so then I can work with them. And that works in reverse as well. If I have someone that I have to be more low with, that is dealing with depression or anxiety or something like that, and then the next, I can't go into my sport client not as energetic and as used. Like it would, the same thing wouldn't work for the same people. Yeah. So you have to be able to do that switch.
And it comes back to that too, that, you know, when we're talking about if you're in work and you are having that stress and you come back to your breathing, that it's coming back to your why. You know, why you're in that job, is you're in that job because you're pushing forward to something else, or is it the fact that you can actually take that time to go, right, well, can I leave this job, or is there another opportunity for me somewhere else? Or yes, no, I'm going to stick this out because I know at the end it's going to take me to here. Yeah. And it by taking even that 5 minutes and that breath, it just makes you more determined. I think as well too, it comes back to big state is practice. Yeah. You know, you have to, be honest, I know myself that I've started practicing a bit more in the morning and have found my days go a lot better. I also find that the days I don't do it, not that days are terrible, but they seem more rushed. I need to get this done. I need to get this done. I need to get this done. And it's one thing after the other. And before you know it, you get nothing done. Yeah. Because you're going, okay, well, this has to be done. Whereas the start of the day, take that time. And then when you are in that relaxed state, write down exactly what you need to get done. You know, and
it'll make it easier to prioritize things because you're in a relaxed position to do it. Like you writing in your journal in the morning or in the evening or whatever, wherever you write in it, if you take that time to relax, like you said, you won't be stressing, you won't be rushing everything, and the more people rush, the less they get done because they feel they don't have time to do it.
But that's where a lot of people then start to panic. Yeah. You know, that's when people become overwhelmed, and then that's when their anxiety plays up, everything, and what they have is of maybe 10, 12, 20 different things coming at them, and they don't know how to deal with it. And literally, it's not the fault that they don't want to deal with it. They want to deal with it, but they're trying to deal with everything at once. Yeah. Whereas they need to just step back, and it's going to take practice. It's very easy. Just chill out. People can't do that. No. People can't. And if you turn around and there's 20 things that are on you, and at the end of the day it's only 19, then brilliant. Then the next day it's only 18. Then the day after that 17. Yeah. And you slowly see yourself getting better. And then before you know it, it's like, well, I can deal with 3 things during the day.
It's like learning to juggle. Like you teach people to juggle. You don't expect to get 3 balls and throw them and work it immediately. You have to teach them with 1, then 2, then 3. So the same thing happens in real life. If you thought of it that way, instead of trying to juggle everything and do everything, and that's what causes stress, just taking 5 minutes just to sit down. That's the 5 minutes of breathing is not going to get rid of your problems. It's not going to get rid of the things that you have to do, like pick up the kids, go shopping, go to the gym. It's not going to get rid of all that, but it's going to put you in a better position to deal with it. Or if something like you see people, like you meet people and they're stressed about all the stuff they have to deal with, and this has to be done, and this and this and this, and then like their car breaks down and their whole world just crumbles because that's the thing they didn't even know they were going to have to deal with, or an unexpected bill comes in and it's like the worst thing that could have ever happened in their life. But again, it all comes back to learning how to de-stress, and one of the easiest ways is control your breathing.
Yeah. You talked about a lot of other techniques, and a lot of them we can't do them on the podcast because they're visual, about throwing the ball. So maybe you put up a video or something online.
I can put a link. There's the guy where I got the idea for the ball throwing is Andrew Austin. He's just brilliant at what he does. So he has a good video explaining it and teaching the technique. So we'll just link it in as well, so that his videos. I don't have a video of me doing it, but his video will teach you everything that you need to know about it. He's the one that came up with it, and it's probably his idea. We
did it in the talk, and it was very good. And I've seen a lot of people, it's literally throwing the ball from one hand to the other, and it could be any object. You said we did it with a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And everybody in the room, you just felt everybody was concentrating. Everybody's actually enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
They were, and whatever they were thinking about during the talk or anything was totally gone because they were focused on this movement.
We talked about that like I do a lot of speaking, and as a magician I've performed for a lot of different audiences, and I'm very good at reading and gauging my audience. But in a talk like that, where it's people in a room, like they're packed into a room, and a lot of them are suffering from anxiety. Some of them are there, like you said, some are there just to support me. Some of them are there because they've been dragged along. It's a real hard room to gauge if people are interested, or they're taking it on board, or they're listening. But you can see whenever you do that technique, even if I didn't explain that technique, if I just said, look, do me a favour, throw a ball like that, blah, blah, blah. It relaxes people because it works. It's proven to work, and it works even if you just take out the science. Like it just works. Like you know it works. It doesn't work for everybody all of the time, but it works for most of the people most of the time, which is what most of these techniques are about. They're not a holy grail of amazement, but they can do some amazing things whenever you focus on it. Someone after the talk was talking to me about migraines and the techniques for migraines, and I was saying, like, you practice the arrow, you practice the techniques that I've went over. The more you practice it, like I'm at a point now, I practice these so much that I can just, if I want, because they're all imagination drills, and you're imagining different outcomes, same as with anxiety, you're imagining a certain thing happening, and that's what's causing you stress. So with the technique, the ball throwing technique, you learn it, then you learn how to do it without a ball, but just the hands, and then you learn how to do it in your mind. The fourth step is just imagine you already did it. So if you're stressing about something, and say, for example, I don't have time to sit and do a 10-minute meditation, I just imagine I've already done that, and imagine how I would feel if I did, how I feel when I do my 10 minutes. I know how I feel when I do that. So I imagine that, and then it's instantaneous. I don't have to do the 10 minutes. I still do them as often as I can. Like every day I'll meditate at least for 5 minutes, but I generally do three meditations a day. But I have a lot more time on my hands than most people. But
you're saying there too, it's the fact that it's how you feel after it is, so if you know that if you get a panic attack or you get really stressful, again, it's coming back to the practice. But think now, okay, I have this feeling now. Yeah. I know this is my fight or flight. I maybe get into a stressful situation or whatever, but right, this technique, I know I have this technique. It's like a banker. It's like, here's my safety net, and I'm going to go to the safety net now, and I'm going to imagine myself throwing this ball. Like, I've nothing here to grab. You could be anywhere. Yeah. But okay, how am I going to feel after this? And that will automatically start bringing people back down. Yeah. But I'll keep repeating it. You have to practice it, because it's like a soldier or somebody, they just don't throw them into a battle. You have to train. Yeah. You have to train, and you have to train hard at it. It's like any play sport or whatever, but let's be as extreme as a soldier. If they are not trained, it's life or death. Yeah. For some people in the cases, they feel like it's life or death. That if they're not going to get out of this panic attack, or they are so anxious that they can't even leave a room or a house, that's stopping them living their life. Yeah. So train at it. Follow the links. Liam's going to put a lot of stuff on. If you do even get in touch with Liam, great to talk to, and actually visually to sit down and to go through some of the techniques. In a group setting, 1-to-one, whatever you feel comfortable in. I think Liam, I kind of put you out there, Liam, but I think he's gonna. I think he would be.
Yeah,
more,
I'm very
more
approachable. Like same as yourself. We're on social media. I'm very approachable. I will respond to everything that every comment and everything that anyone sends me. But for now, it's a question I asked every client I ever work with and every group I ever work with. Like, how do you want to feel? That's the question you need to ask yourself. How do you want to feel? And how do you feel now? A lot of people don't know that. If you ask yourself that now, how do you feel? General, like where is your baseline and how do you want to feel? If you don't know, like if you just tell me, like the answer can't just be, I want to be happy. I need to know what happiness is to you. Happiness to me could be sitting at a waterfall and it could be your worst nightmare because you hate waterfalls. So happiness to you, what like, if you don't know what that is, then how are you going to get there? Like, I used the example in the talk that, I think it was in the talk or else I was talking to someone the other day. If I just blindfold you and took you away for a couple hours driving and set you in the middle of a field, unblindfolded you and said, right, get back to Omagh there. Like, you wouldn't even know what direction to go in. You would have no idea where you are. Like, and that's how I find most people are. When you say, how do you want to feel? Happy. What is happy? I don't know, look, like, the way people are happy. Then the other step is, how do you feel now? So if you don't even know where you are, you don't know where you're starting, how do you know where you're going to, how do you know how to get to where you want to end up?
Yeah.
Especially when you don't even know where you want to end up.
That can be really hard. And that's where maybe for a lot of people, you do need the help. You do need to talk to somebody. Yeah. And you need to talk to somebody who's not going to be very nice at times. Because you have to, you have to get this out of people. And probably the worst is maybe doing it with somebody you really know, because
if you're going to do it with someone that you really know, make the rule of they don't give you advice.
Yeah.
Like there's two ways of doing it. Speak to someone you know, and tell them, look, I don't want you to butt in with your magical advice that's going to fix me. I just want you to listen and let me talk and agree and disagree and things like that. But don't offer advice. Don't say this is what you should do. Yeah,
that's great.
Or meet a stranger.
Yeah,
and offload on them a wee bit, just in the queue or in the bus shelter or just somewhere. Just offload a wee bit. You'll feel better about yourself, and maybe they won't know anything about you, so they'll give different advice. Like some people will give because they know I train. I know if I'm stressing about anything, people's first response is, "Why don't you go to the gym?" But if you go to the gym and you don't particularly like the gym, but you go there because you feel you have to do it for health reasons, and then someone was like, "Oh, you're stressing, go to the gym," and you're thinking, the gym stresses me even more. So they're the two ways to do it. Either offload on a random, which happens a lot with me, so I don't have any problem with it, but so I don't see why anyone else did. And it gives you fun stories to tell when you go home, like, where were you? I was in Asda. What happened? Where did you hear this? And then someone's just offloaded their entire life on you. Sometimes it might just make you feel better. Sometimes they give you a wee bit of gold.
Yeah, so that's good. I think as well, I know we're finishing up here soon, but one other thing that stood out for me from the talk was you mentioned about people being that person in the family, and again, it comes back to mindset. If they go, "Oh, that's just me, I'm a wee worrier. Oh no, I always get anxious." Or no, I couldn't do that because it's a panic attack. Yeah. You're already setting your mind up in your body to do that. So that's someone that really stuck out to me. I think it's a very, very important point.
Who are you if you're not the anxious one? Mm. Who would you be? You free yourself of anxiety, of panic, of pain, of being in your mind. A lot of people they feel like they're a burden on the people around them. That's why they don't go to certain things. They feel like a burden because they let people down. They set up plans and then they let them down because their anxiety gets the better of them. And then you ask them, like, if you got rid of anxiety, if I wave a magic wand, that's the noise my wand makes. And you're Harry Potter. And you're free of anxiety. Who are you in your family then? And sometimes people hold on to the anxiety because they don't know who they would, like, that creates anxiety in itself by going, I don't know what I would do,
what could you actually achieve. Is that mindset that people say, no, I can't do it, and they nearly feel comfortable the fact that they can't do it? Is an easier option to feel really terrible about themselves rather than going, you know what, I can be absolutely awesome, because that could actually make them more afraid than of the pain and the hurt that they feel from their anxiety, rather than going, I can actually do this.
What happens, I think, is at least they know when they have anxiety, and you know you have anxiety or panic or a phobia or whichever it is, at least you know that. I feel like this because I have anxiety.
Yeah.
So but it's why it goes back to that question, what is happiness, or what is amazing, or what is whatever it is you want to feel. So then you can go, well, I feel like this now, and that is because this is what I think happiness is. Whereas if you feel something, back to the breathing, you get lightheaded doing your different types of breathing. Oh, I'm lightheaded, I don't like that. But if you explain it, well, you're lightheaded because you've got more oxygen in the brain, and that's like euphoric. Then you can go, oh, so then I can explain to myself, like, I'm lightheaded because X, Y, and Z. Like when people deadlift, oh, Jesus, don't like doing deadlifts, it just makes me feel wild dizzy. Could it be anything to do with the fact you do not breathe when you lift that? Oh, right enough. So you knowing, so I think some people hold on to it because they know they feel how they feel because of a reason. They don't understand how they feel whenever that's why some people start to stress when they get rid of their anxiety, or they're in a situation that used to cause them anxiety and it doesn't anymore, and then they sit there and then they start to stress a wee bit, but a different version of stressing because that trigger's not causing it anymore. Also parents, I think, like a lot, they're just trying to do good, but I work with a lot of kids and I'll ask the kids something like, why do you feel like this, or what's going on here? So say they're kicking off about something. I play dumb a lot when I work with children. Like they'll talk to me about computer games, and they'll talk to me about superheroes. Something, I love superheroes, and generally I'm wearing something superhero-y. But if they name a superhero, I will quit. Superman, and what does he do? Because I just want them to talk to me. I need to build some sort of rapport. But when a parent keeps interrupting, if I say to the child, like, what's going on? And before I even get finished my sentence, the parent goes, oh, he stresses about that, and you should see him at school, and they stress this and this and that. Blah, blah. And then they just offload. Of course, that's what the kids learnt. The kids has learnt, like, to be stressful. There was a good video on Facebook where they had adults in a room and they asked them about different ethnic minorities. Like, look at that guy, describe that guy to us, and they would describe, like, oh, he looks like he's Mexican, or he looks like he's from South Africa, he looks like he's Irish, or he looks like this, or looks like that. And then they went to the children and they got the same minorities together, and they were like, I described them, they're like, oh, he's really good at football, and they never once mentioned colour or the way they look or anything like that, because they haven't been taught that yet.
Yeah.
So the parents hold on to that anxiety as well, or if the child's been diagnosed with something, that they hold on to that as well, as it's something that's going to hold them back. So I think that if you teach, like I've taught kids breathing, and I've taught kids the ball game, and like adults think that children can catch. Children are better at catching than us, especially with their peripheral, because they don't know, they're not aware of everything the way we're aware, like, oh, the way this is a mess and this is that and whatever. So they just are told, throw and catch the ball. They throw and catch it. That's just what they do. They're still learning. Obviously, if they can catch, they can do the game. And there's different variations of the game as well. I didn't go into it in the talk, but there's different rhythms that you throw when you're like doing that like cup slapping cup thing. You ever see an adult trying to do the cuppy thing? They practice for weeks, and then a kid comes along and they're just like, is this what you're trying to do? And you're like, I hate you.
No, that's the thing with parents and with kids. Like, I think I've seen it before, was all parents. I'm a parent myself, and you do anything to love and protect your child, but it could be the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And any child is not their parent. And, you know, if anybody is growing up and, you know, now the thing, and they blame their parents for a start, don't blame them. Because no matter what they did, and if they did anything terrible to you, whatever, deep down, you know, majority of them are there to love you and protect you. You know, I know there's extreme cases where that's not it, but don't blame them. It's your choice now what you want to do. And that's when some people get really anxious and really stressful is about their family and how they were brought up or whatever. Okay, that's fine, that's the way you were brought up, and they try to do that the best way, but that's maybe not your way. It's your chance now, it's your choice. I'm not saying disown them. You love your family. You know, to be honest, if you don't try and reach out to them, try and be grateful, because it's probably one of the best blessings you'll have. And you know, you don't have to be a happy family. It could just be a simple communication like, hello, how are you? Or hope you are well. Not even looking for a response, just to reach out and say, hope you're well, you're living the life that you want to live. I'm actually living the life I want to live, and I feel really good. I still love you, do ever. But again, that's where a lot of you talked about, like triggers. Because triggers of anxiety and stress, it does come a lot from childhood experiences. And
I think that what you're saying about the family thing is good, but there's definitely cases, I've worked with cases where that's not going to happen. Like you not only do you not love your family, but they were terrible and you wouldn't want anything to do with them. But I still think you shouldn't blame them, because no matter what they did, you blaming them wastes your time. Like you can do everything you said, like you're saying, reach out, tell them that you love them and everything. You could do that without ever reaching out to them, but do it for yourself. So write it down somewhere and burn it, or just say it out loud for yourself that I love and forgive. Because if you don't forgive, you can't move on. So if you're not forgiven, and again, like, we'll probably get backlash for this, but like, because I know people, like I've worked with people that have been through some things you could not imagine, but I still would say to them, you have to forgive that experience for yourself to move on. Like, you're reliving this trauma, and you're going over it and over it, and whether, like you said, your family should just love you. It should just be a thing, like, and they'll do everything to protect you. But there's people out there that just, like, you need a dog to have a license, but you don't need a dog to have a child. You don't need a license to have a child. So I agree that if there is a way that you can reach out and mend bridges that you've created, but sometimes you have to just do it for yourself. Like, if we either that's family or just even past relationships, like with your exes or whatever, like some of them you cannot approach because of however it ended, or because of the way they reacted, or whatever, or you don't want to bring it up for them again. I'm not sure about closure for people. I think closure for one person could be an opener for somebody else. So say there's somebody that I want to apologize to for the way I treated them or whatever, then I go to them and they've just moved on and to have nothing to do with me or anything, and then I just bring it all back up again. So I'll feel better, but they might feel terrible. So I think closure can be done on your own, same as the family thing. You can, I know I went on a wee rant there.
No, but it's like whenever, if you do read into it and all, you talk about these guys who were in concentration camps and everything, and survived, and they went on and done wonderful things, but they turn around and they're like, well, I actually forgive what I went through, and that's why I've been able to move on. And they turn around, if I actually live with that every day, the stress of being in those situations, in those camps, then I wouldn't be able to live my life. Yeah, that's extreme. And again, for some people it's extreme too, with their families, with past relationships, with people they've fallen out with. If you don't forgive and let go, you'll never move on.
Like, I worked with a guy that had in his kitchen, he had a drawer, like a cupboard, that had tinned food in it. No one was allowed to touch it. It was full of tinned food. Nobody was allowed to touch it, because he would never, because he was in a concentration type camp, he was a prisoner of war, he would never go hungry again in his mind. But to me, he just brought that home with him, and he, like, every day he checked, made sure no one touched it. So it's still a part of his life. He never moved on from that. Yeah. He did that till he died. Like, it was always something that he check. He was good crack. Like, some of the chats and some of the stories were madness, but we always had a bit of crack. But whenever you forgive, you have to forgive yourself first. Like, I get asked, especially if I'm come out of a relationship that should have ended earlier than it did, and then people around me that know me and know what I do will say, but how did you get caught? Like, But that should never happen to you, because you're good at reading people and you study all these things and you do this, that, and the other. But you have to forgive yourself. You can't just get caught up in certain situations, but you have to forgive yourself and move on, and be willing to forgive like, I'm not saying you should forgive like someone that abused you or someone that beat you up or whatever, but you have to forgive the situation so that you can move on from that. Yeah, I think that's key.
Yeah, at times you have to take responsibility for a lot of stuff, but there's times where it's forgive, move on, and look, we have to do it. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing, because I still struggle with it at times.
Yeah,
you know, with different situations, but it's back to practice that. Can you practice that and go back to it? But yeah, it's been we kind of went off in a bit of a tangent there. We've kind of went well over smashed our time.
Yeah,
and I think we'll wrap it up there, will we then?
Yes.
Yes, we will.
So thanks again for listening to the Coaching Mindset podcast.
Just a reminder that we launch our podcast every Thursday at 6:00, and just follow the links on our social media. And again, guys, please send us back some feedback, positive, negative, or anything that you want to add onto our podcast, and we'll be happy to discuss and talk about. So thank you very much.